Hey everyone, it's time for Geocache Talk. Whether you're at work, in the car, wherever you are, we hope you enjoy the show. Please give it a like and subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, Overcast, or Google Play, or wherever you can find it, so that you can hear and where did I lose my place? You get all the weekly Geocache Talk goodness. Big thanks to the Travel Bugs for the music and our patrons: Limax, Demon Hunter 2, Aggie Jedi Master, Electric Water Boy, who's in the chat room. I saw him. Joshua, the geocaching vlogger. Cashley, One Kind Word, Ravenclaw Tia, Shermanator 18, Butterfly Girl, Loon Trackers, the Aussie Geocacher, the Geo Gearheads, Sodak Zach, the Deadliest Cachers, Terrell 2, Neil Moore, Molly the Geocaching Dog, Team D&D, Geocaching Adam, Peachy 1276, the No Code Geocachers, PJ Hugs, Tick Magnet, Marcy Panic, Bricker John, Fire Safe, Doc Firewoman, and our new patrons, FS Sabero, Geo Rick, Cash Addict Me, Geocaching Janji, the Geocaching Junkie, and Sir Drumalot. Now, if you've never heard that list before, and I've read it every week for 66 shows, because I switched it all around, and now it is the GC names of all of our patrons. So I thought that would be fun to do, a little bit different list. And if you'd like to become a patron, head on over to patreon.com/geocachetalk for more details. Patrons get path tags, coins, and I think I've sent most of the coins out to all of our, there he goes, Sydney's showing the coin as well, and other geocaching swag during the year, as well as invites to special events only for patrons. Support levels start at as little as $3 a month. Well, we got a big show tonight, so we're just going to jump right in and get started. So let me introduce the co-hosts. Sydney.
Hello, everyone.
Jesse.
Good evening.
And normally he is our man at the cache, but joins us tonight from the Geocache Talk North studio. It's Zach Fick.
What's up, everybody?
Awesome. We got everybody here in the studio tonight.
And a full chat room.
We do, and we have a full chat room.
Awesome. Full chat room.
That's awesome. We'll keep track of that thing as it rolls by. So we're going to jump right into show 66 for September 10th. As we welcome Bruce Baker, a.k.a. FuzzyB, to the show. Welcome to Geocache Talk.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
You bet. We're just glad to have you. Bruce and I had a quick pre-show talk a week ago or so, about, I guess it was last week, wasn't it, Bruce? And we had a good time talking and kind of getting prepared for this show. So it'll be very interesting, but we're going to do a little bit of news before we jump into grilling FuzzyB on this cache. He's ready. He's prepared for the onslaught of questions. So first is the coin. We are still selling our, if I can get it right where our logo is, it's always kind of fun. There's our coin that we're selling. Geocache Talk coin. I'll flip it around and show you. There it is. So anyway, coins are $15 for US and $20 if you are international. And you can purchase them at the bottom of the main page, the geocachetalk.com website. Right there at the bottom, there's a spot. A couple things, too, about it. We're down to 13 of these things. So once they're gone, that's it. Now, there's a few that we've reserved for events and places that we're going to be. But as far as just website sales, we're down to 13. But we've also decided that once these, we purchased 100. And once we're done with this 100, we're not making any more of this particular coin. So if you want to buy one, now's the time. So get on that if you would, please. Another note, CETO Week is coming up September 23rd through October 1st, 2017. So hopefully people have their CETO Week plans, or is anybody going to host one? Or Sydney's you're gonna host one, huh?
I am. I'm hosting our fall Adopt a Highway CETO for the Finger Lakes area this year. So.
Oh, sweet. Are you gonna still try to plan to go to one as well, or are you just gonna do that one?
I haven't seen any pop up anywhere near me, so mine's the only one so far.
Cool. Well, it's neat. They do that a couple times a year, the CETO weeks. So, we got an email we got a couple of emails this past week, and I just want to talk briefly about one of them. The Deadliest Cachers. Nancy sent an email in, and I just want to read a portion of it again because we have a lot on the show tonight. So she says, in her opinion, the more rules we have we're talking about the geocaching rules that have just been updated recently, is what her email was in regards to. She says, in his opinion, that more rules will have to be written due to the introduction of the geocaching app into the game. Don't get me wrong, I find nothing wrong with geocaching with an app, but before the app, people who got into geocaching made more of a dedicated commitment to the game due to having interest in a hiking GPS. I've been geocaching since 2011. Prior to the app, the majority of cachers I would meet out on the trail were in the 30-plus year range. Nowadays, anyone with a smartphone, which could mean, like she says, 7-year-olds and up, can download an app and give it a try. This fact has its pros and cons. It's changing the complexion of the game, and she goes on to mention some other things. But I found that one paragraph interesting. Jesse, you have besides you and your wife caching, but you have 2 daughters that go geocaching some. What are your thoughts on the fact that we've got some very young cachers that are coming into the game? Do you think that they will have to do more rules, or what are your thoughts on that?
I think a lot of it's going to be self-policing. It depends. Kids can run a GPS too. They're better technology than some of us older people. But we cache as a family, and my youngest, I think for her 8th birthday or something, she hosted her own geocaching event. So it can be done right and had swag and everything else, just like any event. And they've both hidden their own caches. I think it still comes down to the person. You can have high quality caches no matter what platform you're using it on. It just depends on who's hiding it. There are some young and old cachers that hide high quality and low quality.
Sure.
So yeah, with anytime you get an influx like a Pokemon influx or something like that, that could be a bad thing. I don't want it to be Pokemon, but
right.
But you can still be high quality. There's those caches out there that are just outstanding, and that could be a new cacher and it can be an old cacher. So I don't think that alone will change it.
Okay. Yeah. It's interesting though, and we're going to do a show on the virtual caches soon, and also we're going to probably do some more talk about these new rules, or the rewriting of some of the rules, and so that we'll probably wrap that into one show here in a couple weeks. So,
and I'll just throw in that I'm 100% iPhone cacher,
right?
Not GPS guy. So
yeah, I have one, but I don't use it as often.
Got one too. It's in a box.
Right. But with Cachly now and with offline, being able to do offline and all that, there's no real. As long as you're prepared, you can do it that way, I think. So, the other email we're not going to get to tonight, but I thought it was interesting. We got an email from Finland, and she sent some fascinating information about geocaching in Finland. So, I want to try. So I immediately said, "Hey, we want to have somebody on the show from Finland because we tend to try to periodically have somebody on from Australia and Canada. We've had them from all over the world." So she's going to look for a Fin geocacher for us. We're going to try to have somebody on from there. Recently we had the couple on from Belgium, so that was a lot of fun. So, and then Jesse, you did something interesting today too.
Yeah, so it ties into this conversation too, right? And I don't think you can classify a cacher by how they cache or as far as what device they use. Because I went out today and we took a brand new cacher out, a buddy of mine and I did, for his very first cache find. Well, it was a 5 hour. We only covered 2 miles up a mountain, got about 10,000 feet, and found a cache that has not been found since 2013. In August of 2013, we were only the third. There was only 2 signatures on there before us. Awesome hike. Did the whole thing with it's all, there's no cell signal up there. Did the whole thing with Cachely. Awesome. It was not hard at all. There was a trail of there's no trail, but there were several caches in the area and no GPS. So you can do it both way. I don't think the device has to define really what quality of cacher you are. But it was great. What do they call it? Not cold cache. What is the lonely cache?
Lonely cache. That's it.
Yeah, lonely cache. So over 4 years, it hadn't been found, and it was up there, right in the place it needed to be. So
4 years. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool. Now, granted, it was on top of a mountain, but
yeah.
So.
And you think there were 3 people that have found it so far?
Yeah, only 2 before us have ever found it since 2013. So it was a good one. It was a hard hike. I'm going to fall asleep right after the show tonight. So,
well, speaking of a cache that's only been found 3 times, do you like that segue?
Oh,
Do you like that? Come on, Sydney. You know I set that up for that. It's maybe not lonely. Well, I think it's kind of lonely, Bruce. I mean, it's only been found. It's only been found 3 times, but certainly I think enough people have sort of been around it. Lots of people have been around it, but let's start, Bruce, first with a little background, because this isn't like you're not like a one hide person or one find person. You've been in geocaching for a while. When did you first learn about geocaching?
I think it was back in 2004. I bought a new truck, and a Garmin unit came with it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and I was hiking the Appalachian Trail at the time. I was using it there, and a guy I hike with suggested geocaching. And I'll be frankly, I wasn't interested. I just thought it sounded, I don't know what it sounded. But I tried it out, and so there it goes from there.
Wow. Yeah, you've found over 100,000 geocaches.
Yes.
I don't think people know that. I mean, realize that. That's incredible.
Well, there's getting to be quite a few people now that are up there. 8 or 9 now, I think, have found over 100. So
that's neat, though, for different reasons. So, during that time of that 100,000, who were you by yourself mostly, or who was kind of geocaching with you mostly? I guess maybe not for all of them, but
yeah, I probably got most of the caches by myself. I was with Team Snook for 5 months at one time. Mm-hmm. I'm caching with Boyle now for the last 4 years. Probably half the caches have been with maybe 1 or 2 other people. No groups.
Right. Does your wife go with you, or family?
My friend, a geocaching friend, Boyle, Maryland. Yes.
Oh, that's cool. That's awesome. Yeah. Usually it's Susan and I, and we all kind of have different spots. I know Zach probably tends to go. You go by yourself most of the time, right, Zach? What do you think?
For the most part, yeah.
Okay.
Nobody wants to do the caches I do.
Well, your girlfriend will sit there and hold the video down while you're climbing, being a Spider-Man, right?
Yeah, or EJK PBR, Eric.
That's right.
Some of my videos.
Yep.
He's come along. He's probably the one I cache with most. So
nobody wants to watch Zach plummet to his death. Spider-Man and
Zach
under a bridge.
Right.
Zach doesn't want to watch Zach plummet to his death.
Right.
So over all that time, do you have any one favorite experience, or maybe a couple that have just really stood out for you? Over 100,000 caches.
After so many, they all run together. To sit here and say which one was a favorite, I really can't do that. the biggest thing is it's taking me so many places, every 48 states and all the provinces, and I've seen so many neat places that I would have never even come close to if not for geocaching. So it's mostly the traveling and the scenery, the interesting spots we've seen. That's a big attraction.
You said 48 states and how many provinces?
6 Canadian, yeah. I haven't been out of the country other than that. So.
Oh, that's a lot, though. That's any no favorite spots out of all those?
Oh, I just
We're just putting you right on the spot right now.
Blank. So. Yeah, there's
That's
so
okay.
many neat caches. I would say probably up in the mountains and up around Mount Shasta and so on, Northern California. It was very nice and just very remote.
I can get on board with that. I like
and the
it.
deserts, of course, all the big runs in the deserts and the endless hours and days and weeks spent there chasing the numbers. That gets very old after a while. I've seen a lot of desert. I don't want to see any more.
No more. You've seen enough of it.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So you've done a lot of those big power trails. Is that mostly what you like to do, or do you like the longer hikes with the scenery, or what's your favorite?
My favorite thing would be hiking on a trail. That's what I do before I did this. That's what I do now. I did the power trails for the numbers because I got caught up in the competition with other people. And next thing you know, you're 12, you're number 9. Pretty soon you're number 4. It just it builds real easy.
I couldn't imagine getting caught up in a competition. I don't know how that would be like.
Oh
my
Yeah.
Jesse loves competition.
But I like the hiking part. That is a lot more fun, though.
It is, it really is. And I can enjoy it more now. I'm not out there trying to get the numbers. I can take my time and go where I want to go and see what I want to see and geocache. So.
That's
very cool.
That's a good way to do it. I like that.
Jesse's saying that as he's probably within range of is the Moga Cup still at your house, or did you send it off to somebody else? Or
it might be within a few feet of me.
Might be a few feet of you in the Moga Cup, yeah. So,
but right off screen.
Yeah, just off screen Moga Cup with both him and Zach won. That's So, it's. I think that's neat though that you're able to do. You kind of did both. You've done the numbers game, and you've also kind of backed off and kind of doing it, the way you want to. So, all right. Well, it's time. It's time to talk about it because we've everybody chomping their bit to talk about this cache. So, a real challenge was the name of it. Mother's Cache with a U. Which we'll talk about. And for those who want to follow along and play along as we go, it's GC1764C as in cache, and it's near Peoria. Is that right?
Just
Bruce?
outside, just west of Peoria, Jubilee State Park.
Okay, Jubilee State Park. That's awesome. So, now this was not, of course, this was not your first cache hide, right?
No, of course not. No.
Well, hey, you could have gotten really lucky with something like that. But how did you come up with Mother's Challenge?
Oh, yeah. Let me tell you the story. That's kind of interesting.
Yes.
Mother was my geocaching friend, mother and son, and she was kind of running up the numbers, and I wanted to do something to slow her down. So this was just a personal challenge to her. I hid this cache with the idea that she couldn't continue on until she found it. And of course, she never found it. She was there, I can't imagine how many times. But she never found it, so she finally went on with the rest of her caching. But that was the story behind it. It was just a personal thing between her and I. I never expected it to be as well known or last as long or not be found. It's all very interesting.
Now, I think people aren't looking correctly because I'm sure it's just an ammo can. It's just really well hidden inside there, right? Is
Yeah,
it
it's one of those little small ammo cans.
Oh, see, there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
There's the hint.
There it
Zach,
is.
you were looking for a hint
There it
all
is.
night. It's a small ammo can. There you go. No. Oh well, that's funny though.
I was thinking lamppost.
Why do I have a feeling this is?
I don't think there's lampposts there, Jesse.
That's
Why
what
do I
makes
have
it
a
hard to
feeling
find.
This is. Why do I have a
It's an
feeling this is
invisible
going to be filled with lies?
Right. Yeah, I don't. Yeah. Well, you never know. We'll see.
We never trick people on this show. What are you talking about?
No, we never do.
So you didn't have any idea it was going to be this crazy?
No, or this kind of following. One of the most best-known caches in the world and sought after, and I'm amazed by it all. In fact, at first I felt guilty when people spent so much time looking for it, but now I'm just enjoying the fact that people are enjoying not finding it.
Right. Yeah, there became this cult following of the DNFs.
Exactly.
Don't feel guilty about that. If something like this was anywhere near me, I'd be there every day. I would stop all caching and just sleep there until
Quit work.
take a month off of work, everything else I could do to just
I think you need to come on out. You're not that far away.
Yeah, it's like 13 hours. I think you're right. I'm not very far away.
No.
Well, speaking of sleeping out at the cache, we brought, like I said, usually he's out at a cache tonight. He's with us tonight, but Zach, you have actually tried to hunt for this sucker, and tell us a little bit about the experience.
Yeah, well, first off, I want to say it can't be that great of a cache because it only has 3 favorite points.
Well, I noticed that.
Listen to that.
It only has 3 finds.
No. Yeah.
I'm gonna go give it a favorite point just for the experience. I think I don't know why people haven't given it more favorite points. That's true.
Well, I don't think you can unless it's a found it log.
Yeah.
Oh, really? I can't give it a favorite point.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. I never thought about that. That's interesting.
That was the joke.
It's 3 for 3. It's 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
100% over all the time.
Yeah, and for those listening, it has over 1,000 people watching it, and that number actually went over 1,000 the weekend I was looking for it. Probably a month and a half ago.
Oh.
Yeah. So I had heard, I think it was on Facebook. I had seen a post about this cache, and people were talking about it. How nobody can find it, and of course, I liked the sound of the challenge and read up on it and everything, and kind of had this weird urge to go out there. And I went out there convinced I had the right hunch. And my hunch was that you needed a black light.
Hey, that's a cool black light, man.
Been tried many times.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I didn't know that. I
No.
didn't ask anybody, but I was like, well, that would make sense why nobody can find it. And the only people that found it, it was kind of starting to get dark out maybe. So just everything I was reading, you start projecting what you think it is onto it. So I picked the weekend that I had free, the next one I had free. I drove, how far was it? I think total it was 16 hours of driving for one day of looking. And this was all I was doing. So I drove all the way out there, left Friday night after work. I get there at 3 a.m. And at 3 a.m, I actually arrive in the park, and I decide, even after all that driving, I got to check this blacklight thing. So for an hour, I'm going up and down this stupid shelter with this little light that at night, it doesn't brighten up that big of an area. So I'm going over every nook and cranny looking for something. And there was no clue. So I went to bed, woke up the next morning, and started the longest day of geocaching I've ever done. 13 hours in one about 20 by 20 foot square. Well, maybe the whole shelter's a little bigger, but
technically you didn't geocache because you didn't find anything.
Yeah, no, I just wandered around a park shelter like a homeless guy, staring up climbing on tables and feeling the wood.
Did anybody else show up
in-
while you were there, Zach?
Oh yeah, there was a guy that he's like, I go for a walk here every morning for however many years, and I always see old people climbing all over these tables, looking at the ceiling, and and they're on their knees picking at cracks with their fingers, and I don't know what's going on. And I kind of just explained it to him, and he's like, oh, well, why don't you show me what you're looking for? And I said, I'd love to, sir.
If I only knew.
Yeah.
If I only had a photo.
So, but no, and then I searched, and then I had two other geocachers show up. They were really nice they brought like Subway for me to eat and some Gatorade and stuff, so I didn't even have to leave the site. And they searched with me because they were convinced I would have the lucky golden ticket to this thing. And, you know, with giving it a whole sun up to sundown, you know, something would have to give. But I gave it everything, Fuzzy, and you know that. And I came up empty-handed like so many before. And I don't know. I went to, well, at the end of that day, right as it was getting dark, I was getting kind of just deliriously tired from being out there in the heat. And so I got some supper in Peoria. I'd never been there. Beautiful town. Went and got some caches I needed I needed to keep a daily streak alive and needed some for some challenges. So I got everything I wanted in town. And then the next morning met Fuzzy, chatted with him for a while, and got on my way. So
that sound familiar, FuzzyB? That you've heard this kind of people tell you these kind of stories?
Yeah, I hear quite a few stories like that, and of course, then there's the request for, tell me what it is, and I'll hide it in my country, and I won't tell anybody else.
Right.
Yeah,
Of course
get a
not.
load of those. No.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, they were trying to be creative at least, you know.
Yeah.
But now
can I give
recently...
you a quick laugh?
Oh no, go ahead, Zach.
So actually, just recently, I decided right near my house there's a shelter, and I decided, well, I don't know what it is, but there was one idea that I had that I'm like, well, this would be super hard to find.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so I hid that, and it was literally basically it's a Slim Bob type deal. So if anyone in Sioux Falls is listening, you're getting a big hint. But and it was just slid up in a crack, completely out of sight, that you would have to just get a lucky draw with the tweezers and pick it out.
Right.
And I was like, well, this will be kind of my ode to Fuzzy and my weekend there and everything. And I get a found it log that night.
Ta-da!
And the guy says, yeah, it took me about 15 minutes to find it. And
man.
And I even said, like, it was kind of like the whole shelter. And the dude had 198 finds.
Oh, there we go.
Nobody's found it since, but
I don't think yours rises to the same level.
Nope, I pale in comparison to FuzzyB, and I'm here to admit that. I've been humbled by the cache. I've been humbled by just, you're the man, Fuzzy. You're the man.
Thank you.
So there's a question in the chat room before we
go
move
ahead.
on, Gary.
Yep.
Does the reviewer know where it is in your area, Fuzzy?
I don't recall at the time if I specifically said exactly how it was hidden to the reviewer. I can't really say. I don't recall. It's been 10 years ago. I got permission from the park superintendent at that time that was there, but he's long gone now. As far as I know, nobody knows where it's at besides myself and the 3 finders.
Part of the new rules is you have to tell the reviewer exactly what the container is and how it's hidden. So
I
that would
haven't
be a lot harder.
I have not seen the new rules. I haven't read them. So
they're brand new. So
he's grandfathered in. He doesn't sell a soul now.
I know it'd just be harder to recreate this kind of cache nowadays.
Oh, you're right. It would be kind of
Would he
hard
be?
to recreate.
Would he be grandmothered in though?
Oh,
Oh, oh,
Zach
I
Fick,
like it.
ladies and gentlemen. He'll be here all night.
Yes, I will.
Uh,
Yes, I will.
you know, that's it's interesting because so FuzzyB, you mentioned too. I think before the show started, we were talking before about how the three people that have found it. I don't think any of them have a lot of finds. I mean, they have some, but it's compared to some people who've looked for it that have probably a lot of finds. I mean, it's just interesting. The people that have found it.
You know, they were all relatively new to caching as far as their numbers of finds. I noticed that right away. So maybe that's the only people that should look for it.
fresh perspective.
Yes, exactly.
Well, I try to cajole. Sydney traveled out to geocaching to the Geo Woodstock 14er, all the way from New York all the way out to Denver, and I poked and prodded her several times to try to get her to stop. Didn't I?
It was. I remember you were like, "I have this idea. This is
I
what
got
it
it.
has to be. I got it. I
Yes.
figured it out." And I'm like, "It's not really on my way."
Right.
It was like, "Come on, can't you just make stop for it?" And I was like, maybe not."
Close enough.
We had a tight schedule. That we were on, so it didn't make the list, unfortunately.
Well, and I think what threw off my great idea was the fact that I tried to hide a cache like it here at our park, and when I described it, what I thought it was, I described it to my reviewer, and my reviewer says, "Oh, you can't do that anymore because of different reasons." And so I was like, "Aha! I now know exactly what it is because I can't do it here." And but that wasn't what he was not. I think it was more the fact that he's like, "Well, you can't do that just for other reasons. It wasn't necessarily because of this cache." So it definitely threw me off. And so Zach kind of helped me out with the because my idea was what Zach tried. So Zach, you gonna say something?
Oh yeah, no, I was just thinking for the listeners especially. I mean, I guess than anyone. Should I just kind of describe what it's like when you get there, like what you're seeing and everything?
That's something
kinda, and what we know.
Because I think people are thinking, at least when I first heard about it, I thought it was this gigantic, like, huge building or whatever. But until you saw photos of the shelter.
Yeah, no. So when you get there, I mean, it's a city park or state park, just a small campground type park. There's this small parking lot. You walk down this slight incline of grass, which might be the two terrain. Maybe the two terrains because you got to stand on something in the shelter. I don't know. But so you go down this little rolling hill down to the shelter, and it's a park shelter like you'd see it, those rectangle shelters that you'd see at pretty much any park anywhere in the States, I'm guessing. I don't know, maybe it's 60 foot by 25, 30 feet or so, maybe a little bigger, maybe. But it's just like 8 columns with a roof over it, and then a cement pad with various seams all over it. There's a lot of promising cracks that you can look in. There's a lot of rot happening, so there's a lot of holes that you can peek in. There's a lot of places that you can look in, but he has mentioned a few hints, and I actually recapped everything I knew in my log that's on the page. So it's not in the electrical work. There is like a light with a big gray box and everything, and a lot of people were tampering with that, I understand. And so he did say it's not on that, so leave anything electrical alone. It's not in the box or in the light switch or the light at the end. It's not under the shingles or the metal drip cap. I guess people were lifting up all the shingles and tearing them off and pulling the drip cap off. It's he said it is a log in a container in the shelter. No need for power tools, wrenches, or screwdrivers. Leave the bolts alone. There's like these big bolts that go through the posts, which, fake bolts are a pretty clever thing in geocaching, but it's not that. He gave this container away at his 1-year event, but he gave a lot of containers away. And nobody that I contacted seemed to remember what was given away at the event. It's within the footprint of the roof line. So if you draw a straight line from the edge of the roof down to the ground, it's within that cube that creates, I suppose. You don't have to search outside of that either. So no digging in the grass. There's no tearing up the yard or the edges of the cement there either. You do not need to damage or dismantle anything, no matter how much you may want to. It is a container that you open and the log rolls up. The cords are good. It can see the light of day and breathe if necessary. And then it's not the picnic tables or trash cans because they can be moved all over. People move them all over the park. So now that you got that, you may be picturing the cache or the shelter, and any idea you have, just you kind of go through that checklist, and it's like, well, it kind of gets rid of a lot of ideas, but you still might have a few. Just from my experience, I still went there with a few ideas, and even those didn't pan out. So
yeah. So FuzzyB, is that
sounded pretty accurate. It's not outside the edge of the concrete. A lot of people dig around the concrete, but the footprint of the roof eliminates that. So,
right.
It actually does save you a bunch. It saves you a lot of square footage. That single thing right there. So if you're looking to save time, like that's a helpful thing to remember. It just eliminates about 2 feet of each crack on the outside, and then the entire perimeter.
Yeah.
So another 160 feet or so of on your hands and knees.
Yeah, and I'm glad FuzzyB you put that in there as far as because I noticed in the chat room people mentioning about how people are going to be stupid about geocaching sometimes, and they're going to try to tear stuff apart and damage stuff. So I think it's unfortunate people try to do that because there's no need to. Like you mentioned, you have a really good description, and I think that really helps. Do you recall whether you originally, that's been in there for years, but did you have to modify that as time, because you went out there and you're like, what are these people doing out here? And did you kind of have to add some notes in there to the description?
Well, as it went along, I had people up on the roof, so you kind of had to eliminate things.
Right.
Yeah, there's not much there when you eliminate everything I've said it where it's not. There's not a whole lot left.
Right. It's interesting. I first heard about this, and I think many people that are not in the area or for whatever reason, maybe they hadn't heard about it. But first I heard of it was a blog on geocaching.com. And if anybody wants to read it, I put a link in the show notes for that on February 16th. And the blog post says, of course, this is 3 years ago, 7 years, 327 DNFs and 2 fines. That was at that time. And I thought it was fairly well. It was a good write-up. I felt like they did a good job of writing up that blog post. Did they contact you about the blog post, or how'd that?
No, I don't remember how it came about, but I had nothing to do with it. It just appeared, and somebody said that or did something. I don't know. Right.
Well, it's kind of neat to see that and read about it and get all of our get our juices flowing.
Yeah, it really picked up the interest after that. There was a lot more people coming out after that.
Right. That's really cool, though, that they went and did that. But and also there was a Facebook group that was started just recently by our Zach Fick, called The Shelter. So we also have a link to that group. So and FuzzyB, you're okay with Zach setting up this Facebook group? Do you feel like it was?
Well, I'm really glad he did. It was a good idea, and it was something that needed to be done. So I'm very thankful for that. It's got me more involved and more interested in the whole situation, really.
Right.
And decided to go ahead and have the upcoming event November 4th.
Yes.
Because of that.
Which, yeah, we're going to talk about that in a little bit in case people are interested. There is going to be an event coming up, so we'll get to that in a moment. But fascinating, and Zach, yes, good job, buddy, putting out that Facebook group.
I think a cache like this deserves it, and I think caches out there, if there are really, just well-known caches like this that are highly watched or just searched for, even if they're ones that get found a lot, having a place to kind of share pictures, share stories. I think there's a couple caches out there that could have pages like this. And it seems just because like before I went out there for the weekend, there was, in 9.5 years, there was 900 people watching it. But all of a sudden in one weekend, we shot right past 1,000. And it was just from me sharing pictures and Periscope and videos of this. And I think it's renewed a little interest in it. I hope a lot of people, because of that, show up to the 10-year. Just letting you know, I'm really going to try to make it out there, actually.
Oh, cool.
For the 10-year. Yeah, it'd be fun.
Yeah.
So I'll have to kind of see what my schedule looks like around there. But
yeah.
Well, whether it is or isn't, you'll have. I mean, if you're within the roof line. Sorry,
guys. On a roll tonight.
At least we'll be able to find shelter when we're searching.
Yeah.
Oh man,
that's
the
bad.
puns just keep coming.
How many caches have their own Facebook?
Yeah, really.
I'm the reigning champ.
Oh, stop.
Oh my, the reigning champ.
Now, I'm sure there's other caches out there that have their own Facebook group, or page or whatever, but I don't think I've ever seen one. I've seen them for events, but not like big events or whatever, but not a single cache.
And not for one that nobody can find. Well, 3 people can find it, but
what do you get on to talk about? Yeah, hey, I didn't find it either.
Yeah,
no, that's they got new strategies, and I'm sure they're going out there together and stuff. I wonder how many people have actually DNF'd it and not logged it online.
Oh yeah,
I wish we knew that number.
Yeah, I do too. It would be really amazing.
I think it's safe to say over 1,000.
Yeah,
we were pretty easily.
We're talking before the show because FuzzyB, you're saying some people that they go out there all the time. They just don't log another DNF. They just go out.
There's a local guy that's been out there 100, 200 times. Muther's been there multiple times and not logged all of them. And there's many people I know in the area that go out, sit, look, think, over and over and over. They don't log. So.
Yeah, I would encourage anybody on any cache, not just this one, but log those DNFs. That gives people an idea of how many people are actually. It doesn't, it doesn't do anything to your ego if you don't find a cache. That's part of the fun.
Yeah.
But so you've had it out there for a while now. Have you got? I think I saw one, but it was deleted. Have you had any false logs on there where people have claimed it that haven't found it?
We had one guy in town here that was a problem for everybody, and I think he claimed it at one time. But
I would suspect if somebody put a "I found it" log on there, it would cause a stir, right?
Yeah, it always does.
What are you turning around for, Zach? What's wrong?
Hi, guys.
Jump in on this one.
Zach did.
This is your time, Zach. Jump in.
Zach did it by mistake, though. Zach didn't mean to do that. He did it by mistake.
Yeah. So I'm at this. I hype that I'm going out to this cache mainly so people give me ideas and everything. I'm trying anything and everything people suggest all day. I'm delirious and tired, dehydrated, ready for some food, and just tired of walking around standing all day. I type up this really detailed log since I had to scroll through everything to kind of get hints or things that people may have said or FuzzyB said or just stuff I gathered through there, what it is and isn't. And I was like, well, I need to write a post, that kind of just has it also, like, it's right near the top and people can scroll. So I type up this whole thing, thanking FuzzyB for meeting me and everything. Hit send, tell them that I mentioned in there how I'm humbled and everything. I hit send, and as I'm hitting send, I see in my Cachly app, I have found it pre-selected. So I need to actually go in and change it to DNF. And so I hit send, and I'm watching, the buffering thing go, and I know immediately, well, I got to go change it to a DNF. So I hop in, quickly go to my Safari and quickly change it to a DNF. No big deal, except for there are 1,000 people watching this thing that get a found it log. And in a matter of about 10 minutes, I had about 40 emails, texts, or geocaching messages, Facebook messages, everything coming through. People, you found it, congrats. And then all of a sudden, like, a minute later, I start getting people, hey, did you actually find it? Because your log doesn't sound like you found it. You sound pretty depressed and sad that you didn't find it. And then like a half hour and everything after that is people like, oh, I see you're trying to log a found it and sneak one by. Nice try. And it's like, no, I changed it immediately, but that doesn't change it in their emails. All they see in their email that comes through with the watch list is a found it log was posted. And
well, you're not the only person that's done those, Zach. I've had a few of those that got changed quickly.
It was quite embarrassing, and I just hope that FuzzyB didn't get because at that point I had told you I was giving up and was signing or was going to log a DNF, and all of a sudden you get a found it log. I'll never live that down. Much like Flamingo Cache, I'll probably never live that down.
Well, yeah, I mean, you almost locked yourself out, and everybody that doesn't know about Zach, Sodak Zach, go watch that video of Zach who's trying to film in his car. And it's like how you were at Mingo, and it was like 12 degrees or something crazy, and the car
negative 40.
40. Okay, it looked cold.
Yeah, it was
Gary
negative 40.
Negative 40.
Minus 40.
Okay, there you go. Yeah. Now, when Zach went and looked for it, there had only been 2 people find it. And then not too long, Zach, after you were out there, somebody found it. And I sent you a note, and you're like, no way. No way. I was like, no, the guy says he found it. So the third one, right, FuzzyB, was very recently. So if I understand correctly, the way you want them to do it is you want them to sign the log. If you ever define this thing, you sign the log, you put it back exactly how you found it, and then they want they email you, these 3 people that found it, they email you, and then you're going to go confirm it.
That's correct. Yeah, that's the best way to do it. There's no questions about it then, and I check it quickly, and it's good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So interesting. So it's been, I think, a while between we can go look at the cache, but I mean between the find logs. I mean, I think that was fairly recently, or
shout out
August 2nd.
Yeah.
Shout out to Burnt Turtles.
Yes.
Do you get emails when this last one, did other people that have been watching it email you, or I'm sure that person got all kinds of emails?
I'm sure they did. Once in a while I'll get a comment, but I'm sure the finders get lots of questions and emails.
You kind of mentioned this earlier, but do you get a lot of emails asking for hints?
Yeah. People seem to think they should get a special hint. They're frustrated, they're tired, and they don't want to leave, and so I get an email. But I'm not online. I don't have a phone. I have to be on my computer to see an email only a couple times a day, so I can't respond right away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I would be curious to see. I'm not going to email them to bother them, but the 3 people that have found it, how many emails they've got for hints. It has to be a lot.
I would think so. Yeah. Hopefully some of those people will show up for the new event.
Yeah.
In my area, somebody would have just, thrown down the pill bottle and signed it and moved on.
You should do that. You should fill the shelter with like 10 decoy caches that when you open up, it just says this is not the cache.
It's not the cache.
That's just
Slim
mean.
Bobs, Blinkies.
There was some in there at one time. There was one, and other people placed a couple, and then they get found or pulled out and disappear. There's nothing there like that now.
That's funny.
That's crazy.
So, do you think you'll ever do something like this again? You have any plans for another cache like this, or
No, this is it. This is enough. More than enough. No, I wouldn't use it somewhere else. So this is unique, and it's the one. So the only one.
Well, and you weren't trying to make it something this big, right? When you hit it, so
No, not really. I just wanted it to be difficult, and so it turned out.
I think you did that. I'm pretty sure. I haven't been out there myself, but
I think I achieved that point.
yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing too about this is that you said at the beginning you want to hide this for the person who goes by Muther. And did you have an idea what you want to do, and then you hunted for the right place, or did you go to the place and then determine that this idea you had, which came first? I guess
the chicken and the egg thing. I had the idea, and I picked out this shelter and talked to the superintendent, and that's where it ended up.
Okay, interesting.
It may be, we're checking on it now in the chat room, but it may be that one of the finders is in our chat room right now.
Oh, very cool. One of the three.
Burnt turtles.
That is a very exclusive club.
Yes, it is.
Can we give him a round of applause?
I think we need
really.
applause. Burnt turtles, way to go, buddy.
Kind of Zach's hero right now, right?
Oh, he is.
Yeah.
No matter what.
I'm going to hit him up in the DMs for a hint.
That's right.
Good luck with that.
I don't think that's going to do you any good. But
yeah, for everybody listening to the podcast later, he gave us a hint in the chat room, and now you just don't know what it is.
Yeah, you just missed it.
Send all hate mail to Zach.
See, that's why you should always listen to the show.
Okay.
Never miss it.
So, Fuzzy, at the 10-year event, I think if I show up and there's 40, 50, 200 people, however many show up, people searching for this thing, I think I've decided if I find it with that whole group, I'm gonna not say anything and secretly sign it and put it back without anybody noticing, and then hightail it out of there.
Just see Zach run it away.
So they don't stab me.
It'd probably be pretty crowded.
Yeah, it'd be a little tough to do. I think people would be watching you closely.
Well, I'll just if I notice something, I'll just leave it and come back later that night.
Come back later.
After the event is over. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So speaking of the event, it's on November 4th, which is actually the 10th anniversary of when you hit it, right?
That's correct.
And what do you guys have planned for that day?
Okay, the event is going to be at the shelter adjoining the shelter. It's right around the corner. It has a playground. We're going to have sandwiches, hot soup. I'm going to do some drawings for prizes, and we're going to have the new Geocoins there, for the DNF coins available for purchase at cost, or somewhere around there.
Very cool. And what tell us a little bit about the coins, because I love this. I love
the coin is it says on the back side, I'm trying to get the right, I DNF'd the shelter, and the front side is a photo of the shelter with the GC number on it.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it's strictly for people that have posted a DNF. That's all.
Oh,
Finders
so
can't have it.
Burnt turtles, you can't have one, buddy. Sorry.
No, sorry.
I think he'll survive. He can have one that says, "I found the shelter."
He can make his own.
Yeah, he just scratches it off. And writes "found" on there.
I am one of
them.
Yeah,
I thought there'd be more DNFs than finders, so I made it for the DNFers.
Yeah. Right.
Slightly more.
Quick question. Fuzzy, you mentioned there's going to be soup at this event, right?
Oh, yeah, we're going to
Is
have
it-
some homemade tomato soup,
Is there going to
something
be
hot.
turtle soup, like burnt turtle soup?
That's a
Oh,
thought.
there you go. All right, where's the mute?
Oh.
Where's the mute button for Zach?
I'll
There's
put
the
myself
mute
in-
button.
I'll
There's
put
no-
myself in the penalty box.
He just muted himself. That's awesome. You don't have to do that, Zach. Seriously, man. It's all right. Now, and to kind of as we're wrapping up tonight, there are. You said also there's gonna be some new caches out in that park. Not this one, obviously, but
Yeah, there will be new caches placed in the park for the event and the surrounding roads and on the trails. And there's already 30 caches in the park at least.
oh wow.
So
people can get kind of a consolation in the fact that they can't find this, they can find caches down nearby. So
yeah, actually, I hope everybody gets out on the trails and goes after the new caches and has a good time rather than waste a lot of time in the shelter.
right, as you put there, it's like y'all need to forget about this cache because you're not going to find it. Just
Yeah.
kind of move on
So why not have fun and tour the park?
instead of driving yourself crazy, Zach. With just let it go, buddy. Just let it go.
Gonna
Now-
find it.
Now someday, of course, it's gonna. I don't know. I know there's problems you've mentioned before, FuzzyB, about this. The shelter's sort of old. It's wooden. It's sort of starting to.
Yeah, it's full of termites in one part.
So at some point, this cache will be archived. At some point,
Yeah.
we can all say that. There's never. Now, do you feel like that for the right price, and somebody who has written at least 2 geocaching books,
Oh,
that you would sell the rights to the exclusive book rights for this new? He's got the cat. So maybe you and I get together? We could write a book about this cache.
Well, we could. Actually, I think I'm going to go for the highest bidder and just archive it and see how much I can. I need the retirement money.
That's true. There you
there
go.
you go.
$6,000.
Perfect. Oh, listen,
Zach's
he's
bidding
already
already.
we're already getting a bid here. Wow.
Little paddles. You raise the paddle and bid money.
All right,
I'll just
let's
keep
go
my
around the
paddle
room
up.
as we finish. Yeah, really. Let's finish this up. So, Sydney, I'll let you go first on the wrap up here.
Oh, this just sounds way too crazy for me. You guys are go driving yourselves bonkers out there looking for this. I'd probably give it a look if I was in the area. I don't think I'm going to drive out there to specifically look for it. I would just drive myself crazy. I would be like, I'm done. I can't do this. It's been an hour. I can't do it. I hate looking for more than forever. I just give up. Move on.
Jesse, what are your thoughts?
This is absolutely the kind of cache I like. I would definitely do like Zach did and drive overnight to get there and spend all weekend there, sleeping in the shelter till I could find it or not find it. And even if I didn't find it, I would love it. I would love it even more almost if I didn't find it, just because it would still be a challenge out there. I wish there was more high quality caches like this out there. I mean, I know this one's extreme, obviously over 1,000 people watching it, and not everything can be like this, but this is the stuff that keeps me inspired to continue geocaching. You know, I like fun little quick runs too, but this is the kind of knowing that this kind of stuff is out there is why some of us just keep caching.
Mm-hmm.
Amen.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So, Zach, what are your thoughts?
Well, I have to say again, Fuzzy, I know I've told you a couple times now, but this cache humbled me in geocaching when I was just running rampant, finding everything, no matter how high or low or difficult the puzzle was. And so, kind of like Memphis said, to know there's a cache out there that truly has stumped you is kind of refreshing, because around here, if you don't find it, it's probably more so because it's not there. And after a while, you find it's because it wasn't there. And so I wish there were a few more, maybe not to this level, but maybe it's something that it does take a bit. So I've hidden a bunch of those in my town, kind of inspired by this, and I hope other people are doing the same as they think of ideas on how to hide this thing. You know, go back to their towns and hide things that are inspired off their thoughts. And I hope a lot of people turn up to this 10-year and kind of give you and the cache the respect you deserve, because this is, I mean, it's kind of a gift to geocaching to have little legends like that. Some people might have thoughts and opinions that aren't so supportive of it, but I think it's, one cache out of 3 million is, I mean, it's kind of funny. I think I looked it up. The most watched caches that I could find, it goes the International Space Station.
Right.
So yeah. Then the other one is at the bottom of the Marianas Trench.
Mm-hmm.
And the third one is in a park shelter in the middle of a field in rural Illinois.
That's pretty impressive.
So, FuzzyB, what are your closing thoughts on this?
Anything can be a cache. That's the way I look at it. Any object, anything you see can be turned into a cache. And I'm just very pleased at all the nice comments about this one. I'm really starting to enjoy it now. For a long time, I thought I might archive it because of some frustrations, but I'm really pleased to contribute something like this to a community, create something like this. It's wonderful.
Good. Well, yes, I think I speak for many of the mature geocachers who really do love geocaching for the adventure. And like Jesse said, and we've all said tonight, we are very thankful for what you've done for this cache and just for geocaching in general in your many years of being part of geocaching. So again, a big heartfelt thank you. And thank you for being on the show to talk a little bit about this cache and the fact that I think, like you said, maybe some of us have sort of gave some inspirations in various times, and Zach, being, younger than us, and he's got that excitement, and I think it really helps all of us with, for me at least, it does, seeing a guy of his age and his interest, and just it's infectious to see somebody like him go at these things, and the fact that he appreciates it, I think, really speaks to sort of maybe the next generation of geocachers that maybe, even though I think, like you said, sometimes we see things, at least I've had caches destroyed, and I kind of get down on geocaching sometimes where, we need to look at the positives and all the people that are geocaching now that are just really, seeing like Jesse's kids. I've been around his daughters a little bit, and just seeing their excitement, and that really, I think, makes me feel better and be more positive about the geocaching has. There's still a lot of excitement and a lot of adventure still out there. So again, thank you so much. Well, folks, we hope you enjoyed tonight. Please email us your comments at geocachetalk@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at geocachetalk. Mine is at Gary Slinkard, one word. Jesse is at Memphis_Mafia. Sydney is at ShermanEaterGC. Zach is at SodakZach. And the Facebook page for our show is facebook.com/geocachetalk. The show can be found on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, Google Play, various places out there for podcasts, as well as the Geocache Talk website. Don't forget to click on that subscribe button below so that you can see and hear the show on a weekly basis. Until next week, don't just talk about geocaching. Get one of the last Geocache Talk coins before they're gone, and go geocaching. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, Mother.
Good night.
Good night.